I'm back officially from our summer holiday. We went away. We went to France, as we tend to do. The last couple of years, we've gone to the south of France. One of the reasons being that it's always a very nice weather there, regardless of what the rest of Europe is doing. It's hot and it's dry and it's sunny, and we take our little caravan and we move our family over there. And this time we went for 2 weeks. So I've been away and I'm back. And I'm back. And one of the first things that I did when I came back is, well, first I watched the Formula One races that I missed. But I'm up to speed now. I still have to read the news and the aftermath to that. But the other thing I did is I went back on my into the history of my YouTube subscription, and I scrolled back as far as my iPad would allow me. And I watched almost everything that was in that list, but I know that there's some stuff that I've missed. There's been a few very nice questions asked, and people have done video responses. I think I'm going to weave one of mine in there into this video. Dave, Lawnboyspost has done a couple of interesting questions. I really liked his video on the Highlander movie, not because that matches my YouTube name, but just because it's been one of my favorite movies as well, and he indicated to us, I guess, that the movie is 30 years old. And I know that I was a teenager when I watched that, which is about right because I'm 44 now, and it's kind of scary to realize that movie is so old. But I'm pretty sure that if I watched it now, and I have a copy sitting up there, and I never bothered to buy like a Blu-ray version or an updated, I just have an original DVD, nothing special version. But I'm pretty sure that if I watched it now, and I have watched it a number of times, of course, but it's been a long time, I'm sure that it would still hold. The story is very good. Especially, I really enjoy the fact that it starts like in the past, and the part where he lives in an office and he has a suit and he's all modern, and that's the start of the movie. No, it's not the start of the movie, because the start is, I think, the whole thing that happens in Scotland with the quickening and stuff. Anyway, time-wise, it's very interestingly woven together, so that I don't even remember what the real order of events is. Anyway, I missed that, so I sort of came back and watched some of those videos. Another question, yeah, and I have it sitting right here. Is the gaming community too crowded for new YouTube channels to make it? That was an interesting question. And I saw T-Rex Space Station's response to that, which I thought, well, he sort of hit the nail on the head. But it's always, just to make it a little video response as well, it's always a matter of perspective. You know, I've been making videos for a little bit over 2 years now, so I understand the question, because when I see someone starting a new channel now and doing the same thing that that I did like 2 years ago, sort of makes you feel that, ooh, is that gonna make it? But it's a matter of, that's just my perspective. I'm sure that people were doing channels and videos for much longer than I'm doing them now when I started, and they watched me and thought, ooh, they thought exactly the same thing. And the key being, I think, that when you start doing videos, do it because you want to have fun at it. Don't do it for the money or the fame that you're very much unlikely ever to achieve, because there's so many channels and just a few have sort of made it into large popularity, but that's just a handful compared to the complete number of channels out there. So don't do it for anything like that. Just have fun at it. If you don't have fun at it, that goes for your job, you know, the thing that actually makes you money. Have fun at it. That is the most important thing, because you won't be able to continue doing it because you'll be disappointed, and you'll be fighting deadlines, and you'll be fighting your own ideas about what you think you should have and how you think things should have gone. So the question is, will you make it? My question is, make what? You know, just putting it out there, your videos and your channel, just because you want to have fun at it, that is making it. You know, it's if it stops being fun, you haven't made it. And if making it means being famous or having a lot of views or followers or whatever, then yeah, sure, you know, just keep at it and keep going. The thing, the longer you keep going, the more subscribers you'll get. It's the rate at which you get them. Some channels have like 1,000 subscribers within a very short period of time. I've been doing it for 2 years and I'm at 340. But I don't really care about subscribers. I just care about the people who contact me. Anyway, end of my VR. I've watched a lot of stuff, but I decided, you know, what am I going to do? I've bought some stuff. What am I going to do my video about? I bought some stuff that's underweight, so I can't show it yet. I'll do that in the next video. But I thought I might show the things that I took with me as entertainment during my holiday, because I had a chance to catch up on a lot of stuff. So I'm going to dive over to the left and get some. So this is the book I read. It's about the Apollo 13 mission, and I brought the movie with Tom Hanks. And I read the book first, which I've read a couple of times already, and then I watched the movie. And there is a commentary by Jim Lovell, who is the commander of, or who was the commander of the Apollo 13 mission, and his wife, actually. So because Jim Lovell's wife plays a role in this movie as well, and she commented as well. It's very funny to hear them speak and comment on stuff that really happened or couldn't have happened, or like there's this scene. If you know the Apollo 13 story, they were supposed to land on the moon, but they couldn't because there was an explosion. So they went for a free return trajectory back to Earth, and but they had to shut everything down, and because they were trying to save oxygen and power and everything, just to get back. You know, for the re-entry, you need a little bit of power and stuff to do things, but you have to hit like the atmosphere at a certain angle. So the final burn that they did was to correct for they were coming in too shallow, and if you come in too shallow, you can risk the you know, bouncing off the atmosphere and being lost in space forever. So they had to. So if this is the Earth and this is the Apollo 13 approaching the Earth. They were coming in too shallow, so they had to like do this, you know, make it do this, like make it less shallow and come in steeper. So in the movie, you see them. They had to do this manually. You see them from behind. So the camera's right here, and they correct the burn, and they fly. Go this way to Earth. And Jim Lovell said, "Well, that would have only increased our speed." In the direction of Earth, and that wouldn't have helped us at all. So actually what we did is go like this, or go like this rather, and burned that way, and or probably like this, burned up so that their angle would be sharper. But that wouldn't have been very spectacular in the movie, so they did it like this. So there's 100,000 little things that were different in the movie just to make the movie more interesting. Stuff that was made up, you know. But it was fun. And what always gets me about this story, the Apollo 13 mission, is what actually went wrong in the end. They had this oxygen tank that was a contractor to NASA built the tank. I think it was Beach Avionics somewhere, a company who made those tanks. They stored liquid oxygen at a very low temperature, and it becomes sort of a slush, and you have to stir it and you have to heat it. So there's stuff in there, and there's a thermostat in there, and there's electronics to do all that. And at some point, the electronics around the Apollo missions were all built for 28 volts. And this thermostat, and when they connected all the equipment for test runs, the whole test rig on Earth was 65 volts. So at some point they said, well, let's just make everything 65 volts. So everything was adjusted. But in this one oxygen tank, they missed the thermostat circuit, which was still 28 volts when the rest was all 65 volts. So during one test, they used this oxygen tank, but by some stroke of luck, actually, the thing, when they removed or tried to remove the tank after the test, it fell. So you want to be really careful when you go into space. So this tank was put to the side, and when the Apollo 13 tests came along, they used this tank again. So they installed it, and they pumped it full of oxygen, did all the testing, and at the end of the test, they have to empty the tank again. So there's some tubing to do that, and they push gas into it that pushes the liquid oxygen out. And for this tank, it wouldn't work. And they said, it's probably because it fell. And they went to Jim Lovell, who was the commander of Apollo 13, and said, do you want this tank with you into space, or do you want us to change it? Well, he said, let's put in another one. How long is that going to take? So it's going to take like 72 hours to change the tank. But it's going to take a month to do the extra testing, and that would push back the mission. So Jim said, are we going to use this tubing system to empty out? He said, no, we only use that during the ground-based tests. So Jim said, let's do it. Let's use it. So in order to empty out the oxygen out of the tank, they just cooked it out. So they turned on the heater, and normally the thermostat would have been there to make sure that the heat didn't go over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, that is. But it was a 28 volt thermostat, and now it was getting 65 volts for a very long time, so it fused. So it didn't work anymore. So the heat kept building and building and building and building, and that burned off the Teflon insulation around the cables inside the tank, and the tank went up to like 1,000 degrees, and it takes like 24 hours to get the entire tank empty. Now, normally an engineer would have been able to see on the outside with a little temperature gauge what the temperature inside the oxygen tank would be. But because the thermostat was there, they never bothered to make a gauge that went above 80 degrees. So the engineer couldn't have seen that the tank was much hotter. So it was never noticed. And they used that tank, and then they went up, and then halfway during the mission, someone said, oh, do you want to stir the cryo tanks, like the O2 tanks, because they needed a stir. And they did, and that's when the spark went off inside a canister full of liquid oxygen, which is basically a huge bomb, and it went off, and the rest of the story. So the things that have to go wrong, Lady Luck tried to tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, something wrong here, and they ignored it, and it went wrong. So I like that. That's what it's a real live story. with just a bunch of pilots. You know, pilots aren't the smartest people in the world. I mean, they're not the scientists and the mind guy, because they're all on the ground, and the people that they send up there, you have to be kind of nuts to go up there. But they fix the situation anyway. But one of the things that I always find funny is that in these movies they show the manuals that the pilots had with them, and they're all very simple. Press this, do this, turn that, all in order. You know, you don't have to think, just do what it says, and then you'll be fine. And if anything happens, call us. That's the way these Apollo missions went down. What I wonder, though, is that after the Apollo 13, well, after the Apollo 11 mission, when we set, when we first set foot on the moon, there were other Apollo missions that didn't get as much attention as the previous ones. 13 was, something went wrong, you know, just like any Formula One race. Basically, people want to see stuff going wrong, otherwise they're bored. And there were missions up to Apollo 17, I think. Excuse me. And they did all kinds of stuff up there. They brought stuff up there, and it's still there. And I just wonder what happened. What did they do? I don't remember. I don't know. So I'm gonna try and find out. Also, a thing I did is I read all of the books of let's put them in the right order, of Ringworld by Larry Niven. I think the first book was written in 1972. This is not a print out of that year, but Larry Niven, very, very interesting read. This is about a world. If you know what a Dyson sphere is basically a planet-shaped ball that is placed around a star, but you live on the inside instead of on the outside. It's a great way to collect all the energy. We only collect a tiny bit of the energy of the sun now because we're just a little blip away from the sun. But if we built around it, we would be, we'd have more energy than we would ever hope to use. So that's a Dyson sphere. One of the downsides of a Dyson sphere is that the atmosphere, if you created an atmosphere on the inside of a Dyson sphere, it would all collect at the equator. So this guy invented, on paper, a ring world, like a ring around the sun, where you live on the inside, and you have an atmosphere, and it turns for gravity. And if you make it wide enough, you get many, many times the surface of the Earth. It's many, many times larger. And this story is about that world. And this actually, I made some game design notes. Because, I'm still working on the code to Supernatural. I'm at part 15 now. But the code base is still so general that I can use it for a game of my own. And I decided to make some notes for a game called Ringworld, where you play Louis, who is the main character in this book, and you have to collect stuff and fight the protectors and all that. So there's a lot of story here that I can use to write a game with. So hopefully in the future. Now, another thing I did is I watched all of the episodes of Blake 7, the first season, episodes 1 through 13. The last one being Aurak, it's where they find the Aurak computer, and this is Star Trek's episode budget was larger than an entire season of Blake 7, and it shows. The first episode was abysmal. not the acting, not the story. That's all very good, but the execution, in the sense of props and location, and you can just see wallpaper peeling off, and you can just see that they picked some location and pretended it was something else, and it's just very funny. But you can see in the first 13 episodes that it grows. It gets better and better. I mean, it's still not Star Trek level. The special effects are sometimes simplistic, and the acting is. I mean, I'm a bit of an actor. I do some acting, and one of the things that's important, if you have to shove someone around or you have to do some sort of fighting scene, you actually have to do it. You actually have to push someone and do something. And the other has to respond. That's the way it works. That's acting. Make it as real as possible. And in this, you can just tell that people don't get that. And in the middle of a fighting scene, they'll stop and wait for the other to hit them, and then they'll fall. And that's very simplistic. But I enjoyed it very much, and I have the rest of the series as well, and I'm going to watch them all because the story is very compelling. It's about an explorer, basically, and there's some nice life lessons in there. Like Villa is one of the characters that I somehow identify with, and he thinks that he can stay out of trouble by not opting into ground missions or whatever. And I'll stay here, I'll be fine. And he just gets into just as much trouble. So, and you just have to do the thing you have to do to get out of trouble. You can't stay out of trouble. That's one of the lessons. And otherwise, Sally Nivette playing Jenna. That's just a joy to watch. She's older now, and you can tell, if I showed you a picture of her now, you'd think, that's an older woman, but you can see that when she was younger, she was pretty. She was, and we can see that in Blake 7. Sorry about all the coughing. Also, I read some of Rodney Zach's Z80 programming. If Rodney and I, or it's actually Rodney, if Rodney and I were in the same room, I mean, the guy's written a lot of books and he's taught a lot of people, so, but his personality and mine probably don't match. It's very stiffly written. It's no sense of humor at all. Nothing, If I wrote something like this, I would sort of give it a little bit of, I don't know. I mean, it's just a boring textbook about programming, I know that, but he says things, I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. Anyway, technically speaking, it has some stuff in there that is interesting. However, if you're going to teach about programming, he chooses to start with multiplication and binary multiplication, binary division, and all that. It sort of makes it very... If you have no direct need to know that, I mean, that's the way it works for me. I just don't want to spend any time trying to learn how that works. I mean, maybe it's because I get how binary mathematics work, but and then he's not only does he tackle a difficult subject, but also he tries to optimize it. If you're in chapter 1 and you're already trying to optimize code, that's just a little bit steep. I have to say, though, that it is a break from the norm where people all do the same and keep it too simple, maybe. Maybe that's what he thought. It's a valuable book. My copy is a bit damaged, but the information is still good. So I read a bit of that. All still in preparation for Tony Electric Adventures let's write a retro game, because you know, I'm still following that, although the last time that there's been an episode is a while back again, but I'm still into that. And then when I thought all hope was lost and no entertainment was left, I remembered that I'd taken a comic about Stephen King's Dark Tower series. The Gunslinger is like the first. It's very, very well done. Very entertaining. I've read the book, so I know the story, which is a great help. And I discovered that some of the artwork was made by a Frenchman, and he explains in the back of the book how he went from a picture he took in the southwest of France, which is where I was when I read this, and transformed it. You know, he adds like a pencil drawing to it and does some stuff to the coloring, and he ends up with this. And he's just, in a couple of pages, he explains the process. Very nice book. And I can see how comics would be interesting to people who don't want to read books, because it tells you the story and you have nice pictures to look at. I enjoyed this very much. I've gone past 20 minutes. I think I've reached my limit. Oh my god. I'm going to do some gameplays of a couple of games that I've bought in the... I'll do some videos about that. I'm gonna do part 15 or 16 pretty soon of Supernatural, and I'm gonna get things going again. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.